wants to say this part.
Okay, so seeing that I have everybody at the dais, we're going to go ahead and get started. The Board of Education accepts the minutes of the Board of Education meetings held on April 13th, April 19th, 2016, as detailed in Friday night. Moved by Mrs. DeRusco.
Second.
Second by Mr. Press. Are there any questions, corrections on these? All those in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report. The Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the Treasurer's report for the month of March 2016 as detailed in the Friday night.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press. Second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor? Aye. I'm going to turn on the mic. Oh, nothing. Okay, so Dr. Campbell is done. All right, so at this time, we're going to ask for brief comments from the Board of Education. Members, I will start with Mr. Eska. Do you have anything?
I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm sorry.
I'm good, that's okay. Just briefly, I attended the first annual Life Skills
I need
Learning
you to speak
Expo.
in the microphone.
Sorry, I attended the first annual Life Skills Learning Expo, and that was definitely a great experience, and I hope it continues to be an event, because the kids had an opportunity to talk about their experience working at local businesses. They were very engaging, and obviously it's a great program because they were really all excited to talk about that program. Like many of us that are here, I also attended the PTA Council luncheon, the concert, which are continuing to happen, and the National Honor Society induction at the high school.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Eska. Mrs. O'Hagan?
I'll keep it very short as well. I attended many of those same events, and I also, for the first time, attended the Evening of Humanities at the middle school, and it was great fun. It was a wonderful learning experience for the kids, and it was really very exciting. It was great. That's it.
Mr. Price?
Yeah, I'll be brief too. A lot of us at the same events. There was at the Evening of Humanities. We did road shows around town. We are wrapping those up tomorrow, I guess. They've been fun. Some great crowds. And I was at the PTA Council luncheon. And for those who weren't there, wanted to make mention that our superintendent received the first annual. Is it the Sheila Cohen? Oh, it was honorary life award. Okay, but it was honorary life. It wasn't. Okay. So anyway, so Dr. Campbell was honored by PTA, and she cried. Okay, it was great. And that's it.
Okay, Mrs. Gregori? Okay. I really don't have anything because I was at all the same things that my board colleagues were at. I do have, I guess, one thing that I failed to mention at our last board meeting, which was receipt of Superintendents to Watch Award. So not only did she get honored, she's having a good year, Matt, too, but to Matt and us, she also received, we got notification in March or April, that she was the recipient of National Public Relations Association Superintendents to Watch Award. Only superintendent on one, and just only 2 in New York out of, I think, what was it, 7, 9? I'm sorry, 25%. So congratulations. Okay, at this time, being that this is a board meeting, and I'm not in for censoring people's rights to speak, but we're only going to have one comment session. It's going to be a 30-minute time. The majority of the board is in agreement. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Because I really don't want to be here till 1 o'clock. So 3 minutes timed. We know that we cannot talk about personnel issues or specific students in public, and we ask that you are respectful in your addressing the board. So anyone get one shot. Okay? Mic's open.
Robert Gomez, 979 Van Buren Street. I just want to remind you that we didn't have a second comment period at the last board meeting, so my comments are piling up. Okay. I ran into Todd Kaminsky and I asked him about nepotism, whether it's illegal, whether they can prosecute it, because it's a problem among school districts, cronyism and nepotism in the hiring. And it happens, of course, we have that problem here in Baldwin and other bottom quartile school districts like Long Beach, Brentwood, Hempstead. I was up in Albany, and the assemblyman from Brentwood, he was just beside himself with the problem in his school district. And Mr. Kaminsky, who is a federal prosecutor, said, in and of itself, nepotism isn't a crime. There has to be a quid pro quo. So you need to find a smoking gun, and I believe I have found that smoking gun. My feeling is that our top administrators and our school board members basically go around carrying an AK-47. When they ask a favor, that's an offer that's hard to refuse. So what we need basically to clean things up here is an affidavit, a signed affidavit from our top administrators. And when I say our top administrators, I'm talking about the superintendent, the 3 assistant superintendents, and the head of buildings and security. Listing exactly what relatives they have on the payroll and what cronies or what people they've influenced in getting a job here. Because we have to clean this thing up. There's a price to cronyism. A good example is Mr. Scannell. He could not have gotten an interview. Never mind
Mr.
a job.
Kukumas,
Excuse me?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is not the forum for that.
I can't hear you, and my...
Mr. Kukumas, this is not the forum for that. Can you hear me now?
I don't know why you're interrupting me. I just want to continue with it. You know, it's a public comment period. I have 3 minutes. So anyway, for example, we have a current superintendent who was a merit hire. One door closed and another door opened for her. With Mr. Scannell, the result
Mr.
has
Kukumas.
been... Hold on, you know, I'm talking. This is my...
Mr. Kukumas. Excuse me.
Interrupt me.
I'm sorry, you need to understand something, Mr. Kukumas. This is a meeting held in public and not a public meeting.
Yeah.
So if we have rules and we have decorum here, I've asked you to be respectful, I've asked you not to speak about specific personnel, and so I need you to...
He's a
Mr.
former
Kukumas.
personnel, he's not a
You
personnel.
just mentioned the part, I'm not gonna argue with you.
He's a prime example of cronyism and how it's hurt us. Our current, we have our algebra scores are in the toilet, and our current curriculum superintendent has blamed her predecessor for that problem, okay? And this
Your
is
3
an
minutes is
example.
up. 3 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Let me continue.
No, you cannot.
We got 30 minutes.
I said you had one time at the mic. Being there's no one else at the
You
mic.
know,
We are closing the system. We're closing this down.
You're engineering these,
I'm not engineering, Mr.
You're
Kukumas.
engineering these board meetings so they cut out the public comment period.
Mr. Kukumas, I
There's a
just
lot of
explained
problems that have to
to
be
you
addressed.
that this is not
We have to
a
address our
public
bus
meeting.
situation.
Can someone turn his?
I need to find out whether Mr. Press's proposal for buses to Syosset has passed. You know, there's a lot of details I'd like to know about, whether that's considered more important than transporting our kindergartners from less than 2 miles. And we have 30 minutes, and nobody else is speaking up here. I don't
Mr.
see the
Kukumas.
problem. You allocated 30 minutes.
But Mr. Kukumas,
I mean, I'll yield the floor if somebody else has another 3 minutes, but we have
It's-
30 minutes. You've been cutting out these public comment periods.
all right.
Can I talk about the basketball tournament?
Special services.
He loves basketball. I'll talk about the basketball.
The Board of Education approves the recommendations for services of the Committee on Special Education. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. Public Actions Report, Personal Actions Report. The Board of Education approves the Personnel Actions Report dated May 11, 2016, as detailed in front of me.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press, seconded by Mrs. O'Hagan. We have specific names, so we cannot talk about this in public. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Special Services, the Board of Education approves the recommendation for services of the Committee on Special Education, sub-CSE 504 Committee and Committee on Preschool Special Education for services in December 2015 and January, February, March, and April of 2016, as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press. Second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Because this contains names of students, we do not discuss this in the public. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Board of Education approves the home tutoring and special education services reports as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press.
Second.
second by Mrs. DeRusca. Again, this contains the names of students, and we do not discuss in public. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, as the board president, I'm calling for consideration of some of the business items in tonight's agenda as a consent item. This includes items 1 through 7, which has to do with supplies. Items 11 through 21, which has to do with special education contracts that we've had. And items 34 through 36, which are obsolete items.
Say the last group again?
34 through 36, which are items deemed obsolete. Are there any items that members would care to withdraw for consideration under the consent agenda for further discussion and a separate vote? I'm waiting for issues to go. 1 through 7, 11 through 21, and 34 through 36. If there's something you'd like me to remove, just let me know.
I'm fine.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items 1 through 7, items 11 through 21, and items 34 through 36?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press,
Second.
second by Mrs. DeRusca. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. So, we're now going to not skip, but we're going to move to item number 8 on the agenda. The Board of Education approves a contract between BOCES and the Baldwin Union Free School District for the Twilight Evening High School Program for 2016-2017 at the cost of $281,806 as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Hagan, second by Mr. Press. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor? Aye. The Board of Education approves contract between BOCES and the Baldwin Union Free School District for Joseph M. Berry Career and Technical Education Center satellite program for the 2016-17 school year at a cost of $140,000 as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press.
Second.
Second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves the contract for 3 students attending a 4201 school for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in the Friday mailing. School District Henry Viscardi School, number of students 3, amount per pupil $67,862 for a total of $203,588.40.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Price.
Second.
Second by Mrs. DeRusca. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving to item number 22. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Consulting Makes a Difference for 70 days of coaching and 3 days of workshops at a cost not to exceed $58,125 as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Hagan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Price. Any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Nome's Garden to provide professional development and curriculum services at a cost of $1,000 not to exceed $125,000 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Hagan. Second by Mr. Price. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Susan Merrims to provide food service consultation at a cost of $190 per hour, not to exceed $6,840 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Price.
Second.
Second by Mrs. DeRusca. Are there any comments, questions, discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves, oh, we did, no, we did. Approves agreement with Gina Costello, what? Did I skip 25? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, let me rewind, I'm so sorry. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Lauren Heffernan to provide instructional support at a cost of $1,000 a day, not to exceed $85,000 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press,
Second.
second by Mrs. DeRusco. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Gina Costello to provide staff development at a cost of $1,200 per day, not to exceed $84,000 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press, second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Erica Pecorelli to provide grade 3 through 5 writers' workshops at a cost of $1,200, not to exceed $36,000 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press, second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves an agreement with Constance Folland to provide model K through 12 workshops at a cost of $1,200 per day, not to exceed $66,000 for the 2016-17 school year as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. DeRusco,
Second.
second by Mr. Press. Any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves the extension of transportation contracts with Acme Bus Corporation and Bauman Bus Company Incorporated for the summer of 2016 at CPI as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Hagan,
Second.
second by Mr. Press. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves the extension of transportation contracts with First Student, Suburban Bus Transportation Corporation, Veterans Transportation Corporation Incorporation, and Lead Transport Incorporation for the 2016-2017 school year and summer of 2016 at CPI as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press,
Second.
second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education approves the renovation of the playground at Brookside be classified as a Type 2 action under the Department of Environmental Conservation State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA regulations as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. DeRusco and second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education accepts with thanks the donation of LearnFit adjustable standing desk with stool and a Zip 12 charging desktop cabinet to be tested in the district office and ultimately placed in the middle school library as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press, second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and I asked Dr. Camley if we could test it out before it goes into, she said that we get to look at it when it's at the middle school. I don't know. We'll see. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The Board of Education accepts from the Baldwin Foundation for Education a plaque. It's not, accepts a plaque from the Baldwin Foundation of Education to be placed at the high school in honor of Sheila Cole.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Hagan,
Second.
second by Mr. Press. Questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? The Board of Education declares obsolete the chemical. Oh, thank you very much, thank you. Skipping on, moving on. Just as such a habit, I'll just read it through. Okay, use of facilities. The Board of Education approves the use of facilities report for May 2016 through June 2016 as detailed in the Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press,
Second.
second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Baldwin Parents in Partnership for School-Age Child Care. The Board of Education authorizes Baldwin Parents in Partnership for School-Age Child Care Incorporation to continue in 2016-17 to use district facilities as identified by the district in consultation with the service providers for the purpose of conducting an after-school child care program and the continuation of the swim program as detailed in Friday mailing.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Preston, second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Yes, Mrs. Tereska.
So,
Could you speak at the mic, please?
to my understanding, JCC is what, sublease? I thought JCC is the one that runs that school program. Is that a separate name that it falls under? How does that work?
Is what a separate name? The Parents in Partnership for School-Age Childcare?
Good question.
Yeah, because that was the only thing I didn't see JCC listed. I didn't know if that was like a DBA or a subsidiary of JCC.
I can find out, but it is a JCC.
Okay.
So are you guys okay with voting on this without having the JCC?
Right, understanding that it's JCC, that's fine.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. District Long Range Professional Development Plan 2016-17. The Board of Education approves the District Long Range Development Plan 2016-17 as detailed in the Friday mail.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press.
Second.
Second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Are there any questions or comments on this item? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Athletic placement process. The Board of Education approves the following resolution. Whereas Section 135.4C724 of the regulations of the Commissioner of Education provides for a Board of Education to permit pupils in grades no lower than 7th grade to compete on interscholastic athletic teams organized for senior high school pupils or senior high school pupils to compete on interscholastic athletic teams organized for pupils in the 7th and 8th grade. And whereas these pupils are to be placed at levels of competition appropriate to their physiological maturity, physical fitness, and skills in relationship to other pupils in accordance with the standards established by the Commissioner of Education. And whereas the State Education Department issues the standards for these pupils to compete under a program called the Athletic Placement Process, therefore be it resolved that the Baldwin Union Free School District Board of Education shall permit pupils to compete under the athletic placement process, all sports, and limits this participation to varsity level sports only.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Press. Second by Mrs. O'Hagan. Any questions or discussion on this item needed? Okay, all those, okay, hold on. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Campbell, you want to go back to something?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the data material for the JCC program, and on their letterhead, which is a report, an annual report from the Florence and the Barry and Florence and Freeburg JCC program, the Baldwin before/after school program. On the letterhead, it's the Baldwin Parents in Partnership for School-Age Childcare, Inc. So this must be a company that they've set up that's under the JCC, but it's just separate and apart for the Baldwin program that they've run for 21 years.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, the Board of Education has a second reading of the following policies as detailed in the Friday mailing. Policy 2260, Citizens Advisory Committees. Policy 2310, Regular Meetings. Policy 2320, special meetings. Policy 2330, executive sessions. Policy 2340, notice of meetings. Policy 2352, rules of order. Policies 2360, minutes. Policies 2510, new board member orientation. Policy 2520, board member training. And policy 3000, goals and objectives for administration. There's no motion required or action required. I do need to ask the rest of you guys, we're putting this up for a second reading. We haven't had an opportunity to, because in the previous packets of policies, we've met to discuss corrections and things to the nature. We thought this was a pretty straightforward set of policies. However, I have received 2 emails from 2 board members with corrections. One said that the corrections this board member suggests would require less than an hour of time to meet.
Can I?
See, you told on yourself. I wasn't upset. No, I was not. No, I was not. I was looking at it.
I'm the other person. What I was going to suggest, Karen, rather than having this go on, how about, I'll be happy to just do an email with my suggestions and send it home in Friday mailing, and maybe we can do some of that in a preliminary way, and if nobody has any objections to the different corrections, we wouldn't need another meeting.
Well, that's you, but you know we got.
I know.
I can do the same. I just, my comment had more, because there are substantive differences between those policies and the current policies. And I thought before we agreed as a board to change them, that we should discuss them. I can share my thoughts.
Okay,
We can do that in Friday morning.
okay.
And then we can figure
And then
out
we can figure out.
if we want to have a
Okay, and then we can figure out how many we would have to actually discuss. And maybe
Right.
some of them we could move forward without discussion and just hold a smaller group for discussion.
Yeah.
So, everyone, because like I said, we're not.
Right, I'm fine with that.
Okay, everyone else? Okay. Okay, so now. Other. So is there anything else anybody has to bring up under other? No? Okay, so I'm going to go into important dates. Last day for voter registration is Thursday, May 12th, which is tomorrow. And we have our Board of Education election and budget vote on Tuesday, May 17th, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the high school. There is an early release on Friday, May 27th, which school will be dismissed 15 minutes earlier than their normal dismissal time. School is closed on Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th, and our next Board of Education meeting, which is probably like our second favorite, well, maybe it's like a tie for first, is honoring retiring staff, which is on Wednesday, June 8th, 8 p.m. at the middle school. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late.
So the Baldwin High School Wind Symphony this year has been performing pieces that have been commissioned for the group. They are performing at Adelphi on June 13th at 7:30. The tickets are only $5. They're going to be playing all these pieces that were commissioned for them. And so if anyone wants to go, I have a flyer. I don't know if there's information on the website, but you can certainly reach out to the district or the director of Fine Arts. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That's all for now.
Just busting your chops. Yeah, okay. Keep playing. Okay, so being that we have no further business.
So
No further business, okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Press. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstaining? Good night, everybody.
I'll let you decide.